Hello, family. Hello, and welcome to Ascension Bootcamp 101. This is a channel I have created to set out and help everyone put some sense into the entire Ascension confusion movement that we've got going on currently. Um, Wherever you look, if you guys are advanced on the level of doing some spiritual work, or perhaps just early in the beginning state, um, there is so much information out there, and it's pulling you in all kinds of directions that I cannot even imagine starting all over again. I did my own spiritual pathway the old school rookie way, if you want to say it. And for the longest time, decades, I was unaware that I was even on a spiritual path because I had no concept of what that actually was and what it would translate into, what we were ultimately seeking to achieve, until I learned to put some things into context and gradually got familiar with this whole thing. So, having been there, done that, at this point, I'm here to pay it forward and hopefully give anyone out there that might need some help, give you some pointers from my experience and see if that could be of any use, because time is precious. If you're at an advanced age like myself, and just now realizing that there may have been something you've been missing out all your life, that can become quite stressful to try and figure out basically where to go and what to look at in order to get yourself in a more informed state here of what spirituality is concerning, um, and all that good stuff that people seem to be talking about everywhere. But there's quite a little bit of confusion from where I'm at and looking at things, that it's difficult, and it may or may not resonate with you guys, some of you, what I can say about it. But I'm definitely thinking there is some need here to clear some things up, and that's my goal. Um, Calling myself the Ascension Rookie as is, so I have no shame or any kind of issue with admitting that there is still a vast field of things I myself have probably not explored um, on my own journey. And everyone's journey ultimately is a personal um, adventure to go on. And if the shoe fits, then try it on for a while and see if you can walk with me. If it's something you're not resonating with, then absolutely move on and see if there's a better way for yourself to go about your own ascension. Um, Here, however, we will be down to earth. We will not make any fluff or any kind of statements that are people are unable to comprehend and follow through with. So I'll be touching on subjects as they come to mind and what I feel called to talking about. Maybe a bit disorganized. It will be disorganized, but if that's something that doesn't turn you off to considering seeing if there's something that might be helpful to yourself and your own journey, then I invite you to stick it out and see where we end up moving forward from here. And the first thing that finally prompted me to actually start taking a video, which is something I'm unfamiliar with, and I hope you can bear with me regarding the learning process that takes. Um, I've always been a big reader of books and information seeking through, sources of authority that I came across and figured that would be helpful for myself. So, in that sense, I recently purchased a book about the very thing, Ascension, that it was partially named to cover on that subject. And I got through about 25% on my Kindle and I had to stop reading. It got so, it confused myself again that I was getting afraid to lose what I had understood in favor of exchanging it for yet another thing um, that was incomprehensible. And I just imagined for someone who might have even less put any conscious effort into studying and learning things on that level, I just got a little freaked out, to be honest, of what's out there and in form of books that people will read, end up thinking perhaps the way I think, that there's some level of authority on a subject just because the book got written, and end up perhaps absorbing a lot of stuff that is completely false, has nowadays been cleared up and is available for the ones that look for actual truth in the spiritual ascension process, which there's absolutely truth to it. There is such a thing. I will, handle those things as we go on, and hopefully make it more tangible and understandable for everyone to um, be able to make up their own mind if this is something they want to tackle in their lifetime that they're currently, journeying through in, the here and now. But um, we are gonna, on this site, go the boot camp route. We will have to crawl before we can start walking. And that is the idea here, not to take up endless time about, endless going on, but there's got to be a concept we have to start setting in our own mind and understanding in order to move forward with taking that concept on a further advanced journey to actually make it of use to our own conscious evolution. That basically what the journey is all about that we're on. So if you have you might have religious background here, which there's nothing wrong with any of, anything in particular. You may have had spiritual parents who had certain beliefs and started, you know, giving you their insights on what they have come to believe and or perhaps know at this point. But it's, we come from all sorts of conceptualized history that we have in our minds, and been taught one way or another. And at this point, you're really going to be asked to sift through this and get to a point of declaring what your own truth ultimately is, and what you end up grasping in a way that you can embody that type of a belief to make it ultimately a deeper level of knowing for yourself, whether you're adhering to a concept of truth or um, more fairy tale belief systems that literally are all over the place. And that's going to be tough to set a type of a barometer of understanding how do I know what's true for me versus what is just mystical beliefs and old ingrained stories that I might have absorbed in time and never re-examined for actual context and whether or not that is something truly to continue to embody and hold in your field of general understanding here. Um, so literally, we are gonna do a mystery extinction first. We're gonna have to go through some concepts that are absolute um, to be overhauled at this point in favor of making some room for um, other things that are now revived and given back to humanity, which, you know, I'll get back to those sources and areas of how that came about. But one thing I'm sure everybody has realized, that there's been a big campaign that's been going on over quite literally hundreds of thousands of years that was geared towards making humanity lose the connection to our original source or creation um, point that um, had us originally established in ways that we would be reaching a point of being fully functional as is within our bodies, within the context of what our minds could grasp, and go about life and further creation processes that we would employ in our own little body form and reality field. We basically were made to forget and lose that, and quite some efforts were made to replace certain memories with outright lies and warped concepts that misled basically our entire race, the human race, to go on tangents that were very toxic for our forward evolution, for our experience in the lifetimes we've been through, and basically digging ourselves in a hole unknowingly in many ways that we're now at the verge of climbing back out of, because some major things have happened in the last couple of decades that ended up turning the overall direction we were taking back on track with what our original creation was all about. And again, that sounds overwhelming. I get it. We're not going to jump into that level right away, but I just want to mention that there is indeed a lot of fluff and false stuff out there, and lots of beliefs, and especially certain entities and groups and collectives that we have grown to talk about and potentially attach ourselves to, due to whatever their direction is that they're taking, or the guidance we might be receiving from them. There is a lot of stuff out there that needs to be revisited, and by everyone individually looked into, whether or not this is indeed a beneficial move to attach yourself to that type of thinking, or if it's going to be a problem creating thing in the long run, because it puts you likely into a box that you end up fencing yourself in, and lose the ability to continue to openly explore certain concepts without putting a door in all kinds of directions that will be giving you a clear, no, we can't go there if we go there, and we can't go there if we go this way. So That said, the news is good. We can get back on track. My videos will be going over these points of where we need to pay attention, and that there's a general way of understanding what we're essentially doing if we are embarking on a spiritual quest that usually is the end pathway that most people eventually arrive, even though it shouldn't be the end, but the very beginning of it all. But after getting your body to do all kinds of things and getting your conscious mind carry you through life and explore what it can and what you possibly can become, you will potentially reach a point where you're still seeing that there is something fundamentally missing that has not been explored and has not been fulfilled, yet it is tugging on your heartstrings and waiting to be looked at and included in your path that you're currently on in this human form, that your consciousness has currently resided and decided to explore the life path through. Um, so I guess that's enough for an intro video. If you guys want to check back, I will try to post videos as we move forward. That will hopefully evolve to a little bit of a grid that can begin to make some sense step by step to make you capable on your own terms to make a decision or a choice whether you want to explore things further or not. One of the biggest things that has come to my attention over the years is really that we seem to be sitting in an onslaught of information overload that comes in form of concepts and topics that we're asked to involve ourselves with by paying attention to them, consider them, possibly side with them. Most of these concepts are in a way structured that we are asked to either go with or with, in the opposite direction. All this type of thinking is really a, you know, sort of a hamster wheel that we're asked to run within that doesn't get us ever anywhere in a different place, but keeps us hostage to a certain amount of thinking that our mental body can ultimately handle, that confines us to the topics that are being fed, whether that is through media or through social get togethers or even our immediate friends and family, that are all hooked into that same machine of thought routing or thought generating that leaves little to no room to actually come up with your own generated creative pathway of how your thought mind should be operating, but gets pulled into agendas and that you are being literally automated and forced to occupy your mind with based on wherever you are and whatever your surroundings require of you. Firsthand is, general school education, where there's little to no room for any type of a creative growth of the mind, and everything is about following a certain structured curriculum that dictates the topics and items a young mind should be occupying itself with, and ends up being tested on and which if we all look back, and I'm thinking we all can agree, anyone that's been through the school system, any of the stuff that we learned there, aside from actual the ability to write and do math and have, these skills in general available to us, which of course are very helpful and essential for our learning process to unfold. But looking at that whole thing, what exactly out of school times did stick with us that would be of use and that we have ever resorted back to in adult life, that at some point were a make it or break it kind of deal that they made it into, where you were judged and learned to judge yourself about how capable and intelligent you're supposedly you are, and what your abilities really were. Um, it's a whole nother topic that many people have unraveled at this point, and you will probably see those reels and videos on those topics regarding the public school and educational system. So that's not part of what we're dealing with right now, but it's an example of um, how common this really is that we get misled into a direction of taking our mind on a journey that is full of flawed information and potentially purposeful, misleading concepts that are being taught and end up cluttering our mind, having us doubt ourselves and conflicting with intuitive input that we constantly get as well due to our very anatomy that connects us with certain areas that mainstream education is absolutely in denial of, and teaching us early on to not let those things dictate or redirect our attention and turn it away from the supposed important things in life that you ought to really look at and try to absorb unexamined for any truth or context, whether or not that's helpful. So that said, the goal is big, I guess, to set the record straight and put certain parameters up that are ultimately helpful, not perpetuating the ongoing misleading direction that we have our minds going into, that is usually a dead end road and doesn't help you um, evolute your consciousness. And that's ultimately where we're back at our ascension process. Ultimately, what it is essentially an alignment process of your mind, your conscious thinking mind, and along with all the embodied features that come with your humanness that you currently have, and an identity enmeshed with. The alignment goes towards higher aspects of knowledge and intelligence that have nothing to do with how deep your college education or degree goes, or what grades you achieve throughout schooling, or any human made type of education. What this ultimately goes about is aligning with a type of knowledge that is the ultimate truth, that has nothing to do with temporary things that you may occupy your mind with due to what's happened or is happening in your current reality. Um, since everything ultimately is energy and conscious, whatever level you end up focusing on or occupying yourself with is either going to enhance and direct your consciousness into a path of further growth and enhancement and ultimately frequency increase, or it will clutter you up and redirect your evolutionary efforts into the opposite direction, to where you literally de-evolute into something that is less beneficial, that will not enhance your energetic overall holding capacity, and potentially can derail you all the way to where you're um, turning, into the complete opposite direction of what you originally came in with, which was to reach a point of realignment with higher energetic source or resources by learning to conceptualize and see yourself from a point of view that you have taken on temporarily here. But that is ultimately not all there is. And we were ultimately meant to learn to make that shift after adjusting to that life, learning the concepts here, to then bring that together with a knowledge that was of a higher origin that we also are and ultimately have due to our multidimensional identity that we all um, are part of. So again, this is a lot of extreme direction that we're taking immediately when we start to talk about that, but it needs to be known. It needs to be put out there as one possibility of looking into this whole spiritual thing that many people, due to frustration and uninformed um, conditions that we're all in at this point, nobody wants to even touch that with a 10-foot pole anymore, because it seems like what has been done so far, including the New Age spirituality movement as it was over the last decades, all has been in some way warped and maliciously taken into a direction that it was never meant to go. And for those who were able to see through all of that, it 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 became a big turnoff to even go in that route or towards that anymore, when there's literally no way you can see clearly, no matter how far you're trying to dig, when there's obviously something wrong with the whole setup and how it's being currently presented and portrayed to society as a collective. So, not to mention religious efforts that have been going on ever since we can remember, or what has been left of our memory banks, all geared in ways that have absolutely nothing to do with the original intention of keeping our connection alive and healthy regarding to the source that we all came out of, and are in this at this point still struggling to conceptualize in ways that we can actualize it here. We can actually work with it. We can actually embody that level in a way that it's organic, that it's not just beliefs and fluff and hopes that end up putting us astray. So, or leading us astray, because there's no tangible anything that for many people will resonate on that level to make it truly feel and be true. Anyways, I will follow up with the next video, starting to bring up some myths in particular to demystify demystify the whole thing, and put you at the initiating level of our Ascension Bootcamp to make us climb that path together. So I hope to see you again. I hope you have, either way you decide, a successful forward movement to ascend and do what you're meant to do here, to reach your own levels and goals that you've set for yourself. And until next time, happy ascending. Bye bye.